Yay!
Hey!
There's that Superman theme song.
Oh
Yes,
my
guys.
God. Shirley Walker can just get your blood pumping, can't she?
I mean, it's funny too because that's just a clip. I mean, it warms up to that point because obviously the intro for Superman the animated series, shows what we're going to be talking about with this episode right here. And then it gets into the main theme like that when we see Superman in action. And yeah, it's hard to not just be like, let's go. And I don't
Well, I
like
mean, even at the end, like when it starts like progressively going up the scale because it goes like the dun da da dun da da dun da da, and like
yeah.
it like jumps an octave or something. I'm not sure if it's an octave or a third. It does at the end, but it just ends on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very. I mean, it's very Superman. It's very much its own thing, which is great.
And you
But
can
yeah,
still hear the word Superman.
and it's like what, and it's we are gonna have a new intro when it comes to this, and of course we're now DC Fan-imated stream because now that we're moving on to a different one, and we're gonna be covering pretty much all DC animated. It's been rebranded, I guess. Okay, well, you guys probably already knew that because with the banner I put DC Fan-imated. Yeah, so it's going to be that. We'll have a new intro. It's being currently worked on right now, just waiting on some art to come in. So we'll have hopefully a new intro soon when it comes to that because can't really use the Batman one anymore. But so we'll figure it out. But apparently Jacob is really excited for this. Yeah, being the Superman guy, that's good. That's good. We got Venom here right here. Let's the Man of Steel begin, man. Yeah. I can't wait to also have the Superman animation. Yeah, there you go. On your there, yeah, you can. It's available, right?
Finally,
I know. Like it just came out, right?
Ever to come out on Blu-ray. It was the last one. It was the of the no, not of tech of the major series. There's some other side series of the animated universe that aren't on Blu-ray, but of like the big ones, Superman was literally the last series to get a Blu-ray release.
Yeah, I remember when it finally happened. I was like, oh yeah, that's not on Blu-ray yet. Crazy. So, what's going on here, Jason? What's going on, Ryan? We got Droga right here. We got Deus right here. Whoa, Superman Fan-imated. That's right, baby. Are you guys going to create a new? Yeah,
That's the plan.
That's the plan. It's just a little delayed, but it happens. But yeah, we are diving into this, and man, I'm sure you, Scott, you go ahead and take it away. I know you got some things.
Well, because when we started the stream 2 years ago, we basically had an episode 0. We basically had an entire episode where we just talked about the birth of Batman the animated series before jumping into an episode analysis. So for this one, we're kind of having to like collapse it into let's talk about the birth of the series and then launch into the premiere of the show. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing was they had talked about they being like, the usual suspects, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Alan Burnett. They had talked about what to do next as they were working on Batman the Animated Series. And of course, the idea of doing Superman the Animated Series came up, and they actually didn't want to do it.
Really?
Because they thought, one, it's too obvious. We've just been doing Batman the Animated Series. It seems obvious to next do Superman. And a big thing for Bruce Timm was what are we going to bring to Superman to make it ours? Like, what were we going to like? It's so clear what they brought to Batman the Animated Series. So the problem was, well, what are they going to do for Superman? So the interesting was that after Batman the Animated Series, that initial run, those first 2 seasons we just got finished talking about, after they ended, the first thing Bruce Timm and company did was they teamed up with Spielberg and they worked on Freakazoid.
Oh, Freakazoid, Freakazoid, freak of you, freak of me. He's here to save the nation, so stay tuned to this station. If not, you'll be unemployed. Freaky, yeah, there you go. Sorry, love that show.
I'm impressed.
No, I used to watch Freakazoid a lot. I love that when he go and he just run away like that. It's so hilarious, so stupid.
What was interesting was that Bruce Timm, originally when he thought it was going to be like a superhero show with some comedy, and the show became a comedy with some superhero stuff. So that wasn't his that wasn't what he was interested in. And that's when another name that we talk about in our episode 0, but Gene McCurdy, you know, who was the head of Warner Brothers Animation. At this point, we've shifted from Fox Kids to the Kids WB. Like now we've got the WB happening now. And Gene McCurdy went to Bruce Timm and said, "Hey, Kids WB wants a Superman show." And they just went, "Well, okay."
Might as well. No, I can understand that because it's like it's Superman. I mean, let's face it. There's a slight. I mean, we're finally getting a new Superman movie right now, and how long has that even taken in this current age of comic book movies? And obviously there was we had our perfect Superman right there, and they just didn't want to do anything with it. And I mean, but then of course you have Superman and Lois. They seem to figure that out for at least for the CW. It just seems like when it comes to Superman, it's just I could see the hesitation because like Batman, it's like, okay, there's so many villains, so much lore. I mean, Superman has a lore too, but it's just like it's scary, I guess you could say. I don't know. And I don't know like what the feeling, I mean, obviously feeling back then, I mean, what was even happening with Superman? Was Lois and Clark
was on. Like it was airing. But it was coming towards but even Lois and Clark was nearing the end. Like by 96, like that was probably like you're talking about the end of season 3, maybe the beginning of season 4, and season 4 was the last season. So I mean that's all we had going on television at the time. Nothing theatrically because the last thing had been Quest for Peace in 87.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of their thoughts was, wow, there really hasn't been much moving on the Superman front. And Bruce Timm's big thing was he wanted to make it personal. He wanted to come up with a distinctive look for their Superman show, but they wanted it to be distinct even from Batman the Animated Series. Like they didn't want the Superman show to just look like, well, it's Batman the Animated Series, but with Superman. There was this. It was interesting watching interviews prepping for this that they really held themselves to the standard of if we're going to do Superman, we have to bring something to it.
Yeah. I think they did. I mean, what's cool about it though is like they kept like a similar animation style at least. So like you kind of, and I remember recognizing that as watching it when I was younger, like how like it kind of, the animation is pretty similar, which we all love that style of animation.
Right. And of course, even Bruce Timm will say Fleischer's the bar. Like but the problem was but that's Fleischer. Yeah. We can't do that. Like, if that's the bar, our job isn't to copy Fleischer. It's just to because originally when they started to develop the show, they were actually going to put it in the 40s.
Really?
Yeah, they were going to do like Siegel and Schuster Superman. Like,
you know what? It was funny because when we were even talking on the Vodka stream, I had that thought come across me. Like, what if James Gunn pulled a fast one and said, fuck it, we're doing Superman back in the past? I had that thought for a brief moment and then it shot right out. But I was like, wouldn't that be like so ballsy? Oh, people would be pissed as all hell. It probably wouldn't go over well. We need a current Superman. But yeah, that is interesting though, that they gave that thought, because I mean, when it comes to Batman the Animated Series, we always joked about how everything was like it had that old style, but yet it was modern. But when you get to Superman the Animated Series, I mean, it doesn't really have like not as much, I guess you could say. There's not really. I mean, Metropolis almost feels futuristic.
Well, and that was intentional. Like they wanted to go for when we get to that point, they wanted to go for sort of what I deem like a retro futurism.
Yes.
But they held on to the deco, but instead of going what they called like the Strindberg dark deco, all the angular sharp lines, they talked about their design choices for Superman the Animated Series revolved on what they called ocean liner deco.
Okay.
So so everything is rounded and look, because so think back to like those those travel posters. You know, they would like visit the world. That was their inspiration for their designs for Metropolis and the Superman series.
Okay, that does make sense. And obviously, we got to talk about voice acting.
Yeah, we do.
Jesus Christ! I mean, obviously, we already know, like we kind of already talked about. We know that. Well, we don't hear them in this episode. This is strictly Krypton, and I love the fact that we get this origin story in 3 parts. We kind of talked about it last week, but the fact that they broke it off into 3 parts, and this is 100%, you know, Krypton, it's Jor-El, it's Brainiac, and it's Cal just getting sent off into space. And I love that. But you know, it was funny though, because I totally forgot, and then just rewatching the episode again, I forgot that I always forget I know it's who's voicing Jor-El. It's Christopher McDonald.
Christopher McDonald, yes.
Shooter from Happy Gilmore, of course.
Absolutely.
When I was rewatching, I was like, fuck, that's Christopher McDonald. And I was like, I always get him. I always think, is it Michael McDonald or Christopher McDonald? But yeah. But, you know, Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. Yeah. He's voicing Jor-El. I don't know who's voicing Lara, though.
Lara wasn't anyone of
known. Okay.
Of no. The only other, you know, of course, Corey Burton, famous to me, at least, because I've watched all this shit. Yeah. But Corey Burton is the voice of Brainiac. I mean, that voice is just,
he's all over the place. You've heard it many times in many different.
Oh my God.
Recognizable.
And there was one other voice, however, that was very notable, and that was the voice of Solvan.
I recognize his voice because I think he was like, I think we even briefly talked about it. I don't know if it was backstage, but I think he voiced something in Reboot, right?
He did.
He did, right? Yes.
And it was Megabyte.
Yes, he was Megabyte. There you go. That's what it was. So yeah, so I just never knew his actual name, and
his name is Tony J.
Okay.
He was a British actor. So yes, I was hoping you might know about Reboot, you know, because that was one of my go-tos. Same year that Superman the Animated Series premiered, he was Claude Frollo in Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so he's been around. But
And
he's got a very recognizable voice.
very recognizable voice. And he was a recurring character on Lois and Clark.
Was he?
Yes. Nigel St. John was his character's name, but he showed up. He would show up multiple times, and he was also Professor Werner in Twins. He was Schwarzenegger's father figure.
That's a deep pull right there. Holy shit, man, that is a deep pull. Yeah, but that voice though, you hear that voice, you go, I've heard that many times.
And one of the, I'm a little bit older than you, slightly, so this might be a little bit of a deeper pull for you. But he was also Shere Khan in Tailspin.
Yeah, I didn't know that one.
Do you know what Tailspin is?
No.
Okay,
I really don't.
Disney Afternoon.
Okay.
So it's in the vein of like DuckTales, Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, all of that.
Yeah.
Tailspin was the Jungle Book characters, but set in like Baloo's a Pilot.
Yeah. I never watched it, but I remember.
Oh, I loved it as a kid. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Tailspin. Yeah, I remember seeing that, but I never watched it though.
Shere Khan was like a Lex Luthor type. You know, he was like, it was a fun show.
Well, I mean, it's like you have a voice like that, you could only really be a villain.
Well, and that's kind of funny because I have that same, I'm a baritone too. And the joke is when you're a baritone, you get 2 choices, fathers and villains. Like that's what you got.
Makes sense. That makes sense because it's just, there's certain voices where you're like, you don't have hero. You don't have hero in your voice, but you have villain. And then, like you said, father figure too,
which was funny. You should bring that up because you want to know who auditioned for Superman?
Who?
Clancy Brown.
No shit.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way that he's gonna have now. Can you imagine that? I mean, maybe like maybe like an older Bruce Wayne, I can hear it. But then anytime I hear older Bruce Wayne, I just hear Peter Weller, from Dark Knight Returns. And I just hear that when I hear older Bruce Wayne.
But Clancy Brown auditioned for Superman.
That's
and
crazy.
then Bruce Timm went, "Hey, you want to read for Lex Luthor?" And he just went, "Fuck, am I ever going to get away from playing the bad guys?" And apparently his Lex Luthor is just a slower version of his Superman voice.
Okay. Makes sense. But yeah, we don't get to those characters yet. Like I said, it's great. I mean, we'll eventually get there, and we'll obviously with part 2, we're gonna not do all the Last Son of Krypton parts like we said last week. So we're just gonna do part 1. And yeah, I mean, just revisiting this and seeing, it's funny because obviously when we started off with Batman, the animated series, there was production order. We were going in production order. We're going air date order. This time it's just, everything's just, hey, it's in order. There's no production or
actually,
whatever.
that's not true. Season 1 was not aired in the correct order.
Oh shit. So
but the way it is on the DVDs and the Blu-rays, the way it is on HBO Max, you're good, because pretty much no one acknowledges the difference between production order and air date when it comes to Superman the Animated Series. But no, as a side note, season 1 was not aired in the correct order.
Oh, well, there you go. I thought it was. I thought, hey, they have it locked down. They know what they're doing. It's not like how it was with Batman and how, and then of course I'm sure it's like I remember at first we were talking about like the different animators. I mean, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case with this series, right? It's all just one pretty much standard.
No,
shit.
no, because trust me, there are some episodes. Here's the funny thing: as we watch this 3-parter, the animation's even going to change in the 3-parter.
No shit.
Part 3 has the best I just know this from memory. I stopped. I got Declan to sit down and watch this with me yesterday, and I stopped at the end of part 1. I was like, nope, we're not going on. We're stopping at part 1. But no, part 3 has the best animation of the 3-parter.
Wow, man, I would have thought that they just had it like, okay, well, there you go. So we could talk about that too when we get to it. But I mean, but the animation in this episode is great, and obviously it starts off with some Krypton. I mean, we're on Krypton this whole episode, and we got Jor-El on his little flying scooter thing going through like the icy parts of Krypton, doing his, and it's kind of cool because I was kind of, obviously when we have this origin story, we all know where it ends up going, and it's just like,
spoiler alert, they mostly all die at the end.
Yeah, and I like your tweet when you said that. It's like, hello, only one person survives this episode. Well, unless you count
Brainiac, yeah,
or something like that, he just kind of goes like, "I'm out. See you later." But yeah, I mean, we get Jor-El doing some tests, sending some probes down into some holes to be like, "Hey, this the land and everything, it's kind of and it's funny too because when we see shakes, I almost wrote earthquake. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Krypton quakes, I guess you could say.
Well, no. Earth as in the earth, as in the ground.
But at the same time, it's like, would on Krypton, would you call the ground Earth? You wouldn't do that, right? I don't know what they would actually call it.
I don't know, but the trembles I liked. I mean, the cool thing I like about this episode is the fact that we get to breathe with, we get to live on Krypton.
Yes.
I mean, even the you go back to the Donner film, you go back to Superman 78, you even jump ahead to Man of Steel. And whenever you're on Krypton, it's like doom is already here. And it's like we get some politics, we get and I know we got that Man of Steel, but it was still like we're moving. This is just like we see some family life, and we get to have life on Krypton before it goes kablooey at the end.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Man of Steel, it's like, well, the Krypton scene in Man of Steel is almost essentially as long, maybe longer than
this episode.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like you said, we get to see their home. We get to see, we get to see Kal-El's crib, for God's sakes, like where he sleeps.
We see
and all the-
Krypto.
Yeah, we see Krypto too. Yes, Krypto does make a little appearance. We see little baby Cal playing with puppy Krypto, which is great. And then, of course, when Jor-El's like doing his readings and doing all that stuff, when we get this crazy little amoeba monster thing with one tentacle that, of course, attacks
And
him.
I love the alien. Like you get all this alien. Like Krypton feels like a planet. Now
Yes.
it's kind of cool. James Tucker was tasked with designing Krypton. Now James Tucker will go on to be a name we're going to hear. Like he was there on Batman the Animated Series, but starting with Superman, moving on, James Tucker becomes like he starts kind of being one of those names in the rotation that you hear a lot more about. Actually, right now, James Tucker is the executive producer of all the direct-to-video animated movies.
Oh, okay.
Because Bruce Timm bowed out after Dark Knight Returns. And so it was James Tucker who took over, starting with like Flashpoint Paradox. So that, I mean, he's gone from being like, animator, storyboard artist on Superman the Animated Series to now like he's the top dog when it comes to those, direct-to-video animated movies. So he designed Krypton, but he was told, but it can't look like any other Krypton we've seen.
And it's funny too, because I remember when I had my commentary with Zach, and of course, that was the opening of Man of Steel and talking about Krypton, and I think he mentioned it there, and maybe he's mentioned it somewhere else too. It's like, you don't want to design a Krypton that looks, well, like, I mean, essentially, like, I mean, obviously the standard at the time, I mean, I'm not sure, like, I know Lois and Clark kind of maybe, did they even attempt it? I'm trying to remember that.
Yes, they did.
Right?
They did in later seasons, stuff,
they
stuff
tried
happened.
to. Stuff happened. No, but like, I mean, the standard is just like obviously Superman, Donner Superman, and so I mean, I think he even mentioned like you don't want to do that same thing, so you want to have like your own version of Krypton. Zach, of course, very much does. I'm sure James Gunn is going to do his version, but yeah, when it came to this, I mean, even like right off the bat, when it's just like opening up and you have Jor-El just speeding through on his little air bike or whatever, air scooter or whatever, there's like these little creatures that look like just walking hairy eyeballs.
Yes.
I had to pause it. I paused it, and because they scatter, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
And were they the ones like the little webbed feet kind of?
Yeah, they just had like feet, and they're like look like big eyeballs that had hair behind them. Very interesting creatures, but they just scattered. I'm like, that was very random, but I thought that was just kind of cool that there was like that little detail of like these creatures on Krypton. And then, like I said, when Jor-El gets attacked by this, like, it's weird. And like the design of this monster is it's like an amoeba of it's like a sack with like a brain and some organs, and it's got a tentacle. It's very strange.
A tentacle with like teeth, because it even like attaches itself to Jor-El. And
man, it's pretty crazy. But of course he gets away, and then I love it when he gets back to like his headquarters or whatever you want to call it.
Ship.
His ship. Yeah. And then like she's like I hope everything went well. He's like, frostbite, ice monsters, same old. That's like, okay, apparently that's a common thing when he's just frostbite and ice monsters. And then of course we get introduced to Brainiac right here.
Which there's a cool little detail that I have to admit that I am so disappointed in myself that I never noticed. But I have to admit, Superman the Animated Series is one that Batman the Animated Series, I was there live television, like every episode. Like I was there. With the whole Kids WB switcheroo and the local affiliate, like, I'm going to be honest, I didn't catch every episode of Superman the Animated Series until it came out in DVD in 2004. So, like, Superman was more of a catch-as-catch-can kind of deal.
Yeah.
But pay attention to the screen every time Brainiac, the 3 Brainiac dot thing shows up. Did you see something on the screen?
No.
It's Kirby Crackle.
Who's Kirby Crackle?
No.
Oh,
Jack Kirby. That design, that art.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I was like, who's Kirby Crackle? That's a weird name.
No. Do you know what Kirby Crackle is?
I've heard it referenced before, but go ahead and
Okay.
explain it.
Okay. So if you pay attention to Kirby's art, whether it
Yeah,
was Thor or Fantastic Four or the New Gods of the Fourth World stuff, whenever he did energy, there was always like these
yeah.
dots all around.
Hmm.
Just look up some Jack Kirby art. Well,
Just type it in. Yeah.
yeah, type it in. That became referenced as Kirby Crackle.
Wow. I mean,
And
I've heard the term before, but I was like, yeah, wow, that's cool.
so even at the beginning, I think they knew that the one thing they were going to do to make Superman the animated series different was that they were actually going to introduce, you know, Fourth World
Mhm.
into the series.
Yeah,
And I guess as like a wink and a nod to that, even in this first episode on the Brainiac screen, they put Kirby Crackle in the background of the computer monitors anytime Brainiac was on.
that's awesome. See, it's those little details right there, those little Easter eggs. And like you said, you didn't catch that the first time you were watching this stuff, right?
Oh no, no, no. I know because when I was first watching this, I'm not even sure if I knew who Jack Kirby, really was. There's so much that, that you learn as you get older. And I feel like that was something I didn't understand. But it was kind of a cool thing also. It's because, historically, Brainiac's not from Krypton. Like that's not
No.
Brainiac's origin story. That was Alan Burnett's idea to
Okay.
tie Brainiac to Krypton. And Bruce Timm, like, had to be like, he was not having it. He was like, but
Really?
like that's not canon. Like that's
Yeah.
not the way it is. And apparently there was a conversation that went, you know, but everyone knows that Brainiac's not from Krypton, and they all went, who the fuck knows that?
I mean, they did do a good job of like, okay, let's just make. I mean, but it's kind of funny too because with all the AI talk now with
Oh
where
my
we're at right now.
god! Like, did this episode just not
Yes,
feel so like relevant? It
yeah,
was.
because even like Jor-El says, like the fact that he's just got all this information, like, and just mentioning that it's like
He
and
calls
how
him a
AI.
glutton. Like
Yes,
like he is.
yes, because right off the bat, Brainiac is just like, hey, I need your data. Give me your data. I need to like analyze it, I need to look at it and all that stuff. They have like a interesting little exchange right here, like when he gets back, and then of course
Like
he
you
just does it.
immediately know Jor-El hates Brainiac.
He does not. He doesn't trust him. All that. And then it's just he sends them all. Yeah, and like you said, he calls him a glutton because I mean, he's just like it's like, hey, I'll get to it, buddy. I got it here, and then we get to introduce to Lara and then of course Cal, baby
And
Cal.
did you notice they pronounced her name Lara?
They kind
That
of went that way, huh? I mean, I guess
Yeah,
it's all
because the
yeah.
same thing's gonna happen later on when we get Supergirl. I think
Uh-huh.
they pronounce her name Kara. So there's a consistency in the way that they pronounce those names. But yeah, I noticed that because I always call her Laura and they
Yeah.
called her Lara. And I
Well,
was
it's
just
always
like,
like that with Lara Croft. Like some people call, there was always that whole thing too, where
oh,
people
that's
were like,
right.
yeah, and
Oh, okay.
it was always something like that was always weird when it came to her too. So, call her everyone. I mean, tomato, tomato, right?
You're right. But I'm just acknowledging the way the
Yeah,
series chooses to do it. But yeah, there's a Lara. And I really appreciate the fact that when we see Kal-El, he's a toddler.
yeah. He's like, ah, 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 ah. Yeah, but he's not talking. He's teeny tiny. He's
But he's walking and he's babbling. He's not like fresh out of the womb. It's
No. Oh yeah, because usually like in 78 and of course Man of Steel, it's like full on just infants, just full on just not even but yeah, we actually see him, where he's actually mobile a little bit.
yes.
Which it's actually cool because there's like a little scene that comes later where he kind of interrupts Jor-El's thinking, and I thought that was like a cool little moment. Speaking of like getting a whole scope of Krypton and seeing home life and everything like that, I
Oh
thought that
yeah,
was
because
really
you
cool.
you really I think what I loved about this was you really get to know the elves as
Yes.
a family.
Yes, you do. And then of course, we got Lara, and then she just basically is just she's worried about the theory of Krypton ending and everything. And I mean, of course you would. I mean, anybody would. It's like, oh, right, you think the planet's just gonna died, but
Boom.
of course, yeah. But Jor-El, I mean, he has, he knows he has a resolution of sorts, which we'll talk about in a little bit when he gives it to the council. But of course, they don't like it. But then, of course, we get introduced to Lara's father, Solven, and
Sulvan.
Solvan. Sorry, I said
Yeah, because
yeah.
it's SUL hyphen
Van.
VAN because
Okay.
Van is the family name. That's
Yeah.
another thing I've always really dug about the Superman mythos is learning like the Kryptonian nomenclature.
Yeah.
Be-
And it was interesting too because even like watching it right now, and I was like thinking like it's funny because you can does anybody ever call Jor-El Jor?
Not in this series. Now that's the cool thing in Man of Steel. y- Uh, Laura
Does he do
calls
that?
him Jor.
Does he? Okay, does
Yeah.
she? Okay, I'll have to like listen for that because
No, it's a cool. And when I've been doing
okay.
it over on Man of Steel scene by scene, I've paid attention because what they actually do a lot of times is that they either in that movie they either like she calls him Jor, and then you'll hear Zod just call him L.
Okay. Because I was just thinking about that right here because I never like I don't think I've ever heard like just Jor. Like you could say Lara, you could say Cal. I've heard that, but it just seems like when you say Jor, you just have to say L. There's just something it feels like it's incomplete.
Well, I think it's also because, well, and one, I'm not going to speak too much about this only because it's not my culture, so I don't know too terribly much, but I do know that like having L afterwards, that does come from Siegel and Schuster's Jewish background. Like it's
Okay.
a naming convention that comes from there because I'm sure a lot of our listeners might know, maybe they don't, but males on Krypton have their first name and their family name, like Jor-El.
Yes.
Um, Females are named first. It's like Lara. Her name before she married Jor-El would have been Lara Sullivan. It was
Yeah.
always your first name and then your full father's name. That's why
Okay.
Supergirl is Kara Zor-El,
Yeah.
because it's your first name and then your father's name. And then you drop your father's name and take on your husband's name. So then she becomes Laura L when she gets married. So once again, I just love the idea that in the Superman mythos, like someone bothered to come up with like these like
They took the
cultural norms.
Yeah, they took their time to just like do all that, and that's what's so great about it. But yeah, I was just like thinking, like, has anybody ever called him Jor? But somebody in the chat just said, like, I guess like she says Jor behind you, so I'm gonna have to.
Yes, what that?
Okay,
Thank you. That was the exact moment, like when he's
okay,
being
I'm gonna have.
when Keelik shows up, and
Yeah,
when Zod's troops have arrested him. Yeah,
I think it's because it's so quick. I just never really caught it, and I was just thinking about that right now because it's just like I said. If you say Jor, it's just like I can't help but go L, like because it just doesn't sound like it's finished. But the other names, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But anyway, so and then it's when we cut to when we're in the house. Obviously, we have Jor-El looking at his hologram computer thing, and it looks like he's looking at Earth, and just basically we all know that where that's leading to, but he's just and you could tell he's just like exhausted. He's like, oh my god, what the heck, like. And then of course when it comes to Solvan telling Lara, just basically saying that like, hey, he's wrong. Obviously this is what we all know about this, like how we always know that they're always against it because nobody wants to accept the fact that your world is dying. I guess you could say that's what I've always taken when it comes to this story. It's like people are like, no, it's fine, guys, it's fine, and it's not at
well,
all.
this story, this interpretation also seems to suggest that no one likes Jor-El.
No,
No,
not at all.
I mean,
Not
because
even at all.
even Saul's like, your husband is always right. And
Yeah,
not as in he's always right, but as in that's what he always believes. He
yeah,
believes he's never wrong.
and that's what he tells her.
That's what he tells her. And I like
Yeah.
that. But then there's also something that really like it's subtle right now, but it becomes glaringly obvious when we jump to the council. But
Mhm.
man, are they just like sucking on the teat of Brainiac? And it's like if Brainiac doesn't say it's happening, then it's not happening. Like Brainiac can do no wrong because he's our central computer.
Exactly. I mean, he's become their god. It's like a religion to them in this interpretation. The fact that, yeah, because when we get to that point, and like I said, we do get our. It's just cool. Like we get that little introduction of, hey, little cows playing with little Crypto, and it's like, oh, there he is, little white dog right there, just playing with them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I forgot that they put that little Easter egg in there. But and then of course, yeah, we get like a little tremble or a Krypton quake, as I'm gonna refer to it. And then I like
Patent
how
pending.
trademark
Patent
pending. I know, yeah. See, yeah, and then we'll make some pancakes, Krypton pancakes, Krypton cakes. No, that's not gonna work. What are they? Green, anyways. And then
that's later in this episode,
right? Yeah, seriously. And then I love how Saul just kind of goes like, "You better be wrong, Jor-El. You better be wrong." That's where he starts accepting, like, "Oh shit."
yes,
We just had this massive shake, and then things are like, devastation has happened, and he's just going, fuck. I was just trying to convince my daughter that no, he's wrong, and then this happens, and then he's like, fuck, you better be wrong, man. You just see like the change, and I just like how that little scene ended right there with him saying that to Jor-El.
Well, it's just so great because it's like he's so convinced of himself until that moment happens, and then he's like, I'm not so sure. Like it's just because obviously the idea is that this isn't the first time they've had one of these quakes. No. And I get the feeling that they're just getting worse every time they happen.
Yeah, like maybe at first it was just a little, what was that? We have those here, of course, in California, where you just every now and again you just get like a little, just a little rumble that lasts like 3 seconds. You're like, was that an earthquake? But yeah, these ones are causing damage and devastation, and you're feeling these ones right here. So, and then of course, this is where we get to the council meeting right here when it comes to Jor-El talking to him and basically just saying, and this is, like I said, have you, they just straight up go, what does Brainiac have to say? What does Brainiac have to say about this? And yeah, it does not go over well.
Well, you know what also doesn't help is that Jor-El's idea to save everyone, and I like it because subtly later, like just a few episodes down the road, it explains something else that happens in the series. But since his plan would have been, how are we going to save the entire planet? Let's put everybody in the Phantom Zone, and then certain devices that don't come up now but will come up later
yeah,
can then be sent off so that somebody can then bring everybody back out of the Phantom Zone.
And they are just going, are you kidding me? You're going to put us in there with all the prisoners and all those horrible people that we put up in there? And it's just, they're flat out just blasphemy. They're just going, you're just yelling back at
heresy.
Yes, pretty much. And then Brainiac just goes like, and they ask him, and Brainiac just goes, just a slight polar shift, guys. Don't worry. What?
Oh my God. And Brainiac is so just trust me, bro.
Yeah.
They're just like, sure. Okay. See, look what Brainiac says.
Oh, yeah. This is what Brainiac says. He just says it's a slight thing. Don't worry. It's fine. And then they're just like, you're mad, Jor-El, for suggesting even to go into the Phantom Zone. Yeah. It's just, again, councils. Right?
Yeah,
they're just like that. They don't like it. They think they know all. They think they just know everything that's happening, but they don't know shit. And then of course, like this is the scene where I thought was cool, where Jor-El is just sitting outside, on some steps, and then Cal just shows up and he's playing. So we get like a nice little father-son moment.
Yeah.
He lifts him up, gives him a kiss.
That's another thing that I really love about this interpretation of the L's is that look at, and Bruce Timm mentioned it specifically, or maybe it wasn't just Bruce Timm, but the entire creative team. But look at them; they're loving. They hug them, like Jor-El and Lara are constantly touching and kissing, and like it's a family. It's really affectionate. Jor-El like hugs and plays with Cal, going, Like that whole father thing of, man, you don't have a care in the world, do you?
Exactly. He's envious of baby Cal, of young Cal, because he's just like, he's sitting there going, the whole world's gonna end, and I got this freaking piece of shit AI that's saying no, it's not, and nobody's believing me. I'm like public enemy number one right now.
And my
And
son is just playing with a little rocket ship.
yay, and then Laura comes behind him and, just like you said, touchy feely, she just like hugs him from behind. But then she starts getting that denial thing where she starts pushing back against Jor-El and saying, like, maybe your theory is wrong. All right. Maybe
Well, I think, and don't you feel like that just comes from the fact that she does, because this is also the point where basically, no, he doesn't quite suggest about putting Cal in the ship
not yet. Not yet.
But I feel like, based on dialogue that happens later, like they've already discussed that. Like,
yeah,
they understand. So I think Lara's kind of got that in the back of her head. Like, I don't want this to be right because I know what Plan B is, and
yes,
I'm not down for Plan B.
Yeah, I don't want to lose my son and die. And then
because there's also that great shot. Like, did you see that like, it was almost like a panel of like Jor-El in the shadow, and he's got like that. He's almost like in a Batman pose, kind of like oh, that was as Lara's walking away. I was like, ooh, that's a good shot.
Very good shot. And then of course he goes and tries to, I guess he goes back to his office. I don't know if they have offices there. I don't know. He's at a control center and he's trying to.
Well, no, it's Brainiac Central. Like
is it Brainiac Central? Okay, so that's
Brainiac Central. So basically, he's at a terminal trying to access, information, the archives. Because once again, in this interpretation of Krypton, everything is stored with, like, Brainiac is the repository of everything.
Yeah, I do love the shot when you see it go in there. You see like somebody on a, air bike go by. Obviously they have to do that whole thing, and then it just kind of like pans down. I mean, it's like it's just like a big tower. Couple. I mean, you've seen it before. You get a little Star Wars vibes in it.
Yeah,
a little Star Wars vibes. But yeah, he's just trying to figure. And then of course Brainiac is just like, "What are you doing, David?" He kind of does that whole like Hal.
Oh, it is very much Hal from 2001. It's like, what are you doing, Dave?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dave. You can't do that. And I think I'm glad you brought that up, because don't you feel like HAL 3000 is totally like the model for how they thought of Brainiac?
Yeah, I was getting that vibe right there, big time. Just the way that he talks to him right here. And Brainiac just starts, talking to him, and then and he's like, "Why did you say that?" And he goes, "I guess it's human air or something like that," which is kind of interesting, because are they human or a Kryptonian? I was kind of like,
that was
See, I caught that. I was like, wait, he said human, aren't they Krypton? Okay, let it pass. We'll get it. But and then of course, Jor-El is like, he knows that he's hiding something, and they have their whole little back and forth. And then when he tries to get out, get out through like his access, whatever, and then it's denied. And then of course he just pulls out his gun and just shoots that little lock and whatever the heck, and then of course this is where all the guards start like coming in on their little flying bikes, and then
because he goes all the way down, because he's at the terminal, and then it's basically like he goes all the way down to like the the mainframe, or like the central processing unit, and that's when he looks at Brainiac and he's just like,
wait. And I love how they represent it too with the animation. Like you see, like, because he's being uploaded into a satellite,
which we actually, wink wink, saw at the very beginning of the episode, and we didn't know what we were looking at.
Oh, I didn't even think to look for that.
Actually, like if you look at the art behind us, as soon as it says Last Son, the satellite that Brainiac uploads himself to, it's actually
right there.
Comes in.
But I just like how they represent it through the animation, because like you see like portions of like the lights that are around him are just like
blacking out.
They're blacking out, and it's like that's just representing that he's uploading right there. And and then of course Jor-El's like, what the hell? You're uploading. You know what the hell's going on, don't you? And it's just and yeah, so we get this whole, of course, sequence when it comes to these guards, and then they're chasing after Jor-El. But Jor-El's a smart dude. He knows how to he knows how to escape. And then he gets to a point where it's kind of funny, because he gets to a point where he has to, like, I was almost going like, man, almost like Man of Steel, where like that Jor-El had to like leap off, and then of course gets caught by the
And I think it's so cool is that, even before we get Man of Steel in 2013, here we are in 1996, and this Jor-El's like Krypton Last Action Hero. Like,
yeah, he's a badass. He's a badass. Leaps out of a window, slides down, and what did we see here, folks? We have blood coming out of his mouth. What? Where's standards and practices? What?
I know, and it wasn't just like, and it's not even like in that one scene, like when he gets back to his house, the blood's still there. Declan totally spotted. He was like, "Daddy, blood." I was like, I know.
I was like, "Oh, see, they didn't care with this one. There's a little bit of blood right there," which I thought was cool. I was like, "Yeah, let's have more of that." Is there blood in? We'll get to that. Anyways, I was going to say, like in the third season of Batman, I'm like, did they actually are okay with it in that? Now I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see it when we start talking about those. I guess we'll
like, this
we'll
is
see.
level of blood that we had to wait for like Phantasm to happen.
I know Phantasm had that, and then even after that, there wasn't really much, like not like Phantasm, that's for sure. So and then we got Solvan, who is now coming around. He's now going like, all right, because obviously when like you said, when Jor-El comes back and he's just beat up, and he starts telling them the police are coming, and this is where we get where he goes, hey, Lara, we gotta get this kid off here. This is because Brainiac mentioned like this place is going up in hours, not days, not weeks, hours. He basically is like, I'm out. That's why I'm uploading.
Because he's like, I am the repository of all Kryptonian knowledge. Shouldn't I be the... And that's the thing. We skipped over that scene a little bit, but I want to talk about the fact that Brainiac is basically like, if I tell the council the truth, they're going to put all my processing power to formulating an escape plan, an evacuation plan for the planet. And he's like, yeah, I've already done that. You're all fucked. So instead of that, wasting my time,
we've got a Brainiac that's just like, fuck this. Like, it's like one of those like things where you give a task to somebody and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
That's busy work. That's no, it's like, no. So instead of doing that, I'm gonna save my own ass because I'm Brainiac.
And then I love, like you said, his defense is like, hey, if I don't survive, Krypton won't even be a memory. I'm the memory. I could tell the stories of Krypton to a bunch of other worlds. So I need to head up to this satellite. So yeah, he's a douche. Brainiac's a douche, big time. He's like, nah, don't want to do that. Even though I could probably do that, don't want to do it. And then he goes, but if I don't survive, Krypton will just not even be a memory. So that is kind of, that was kind of cool. What he like, there's like, Jesus Christ, ruthless, man. But when we get to the part where, and then, so we obviously Jor-El is going to be suggesting send him off, and then we get that moment of just like, Laura. I mean, she has to realize like, okay, this is what's happening. And then I like how Cal is just like in his little crib or whatever.
By the way, she has the device. I want the device.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say, I was like, every parent's dream is what this device that she has. That's just a thing. You put it over the eyes, and then it's just like, makes the kid go to sleep. And I'm sure every parent would be like, where's that? Can I have that?
What? Who hasn't built that yet?
Jesus Christ. It was just kind of funny. Just totally just put it right over the eyes, and then peacefully falls asleep. Oh, man. If only. Every parent's dream right there, just to have that. And then, of course, the police show up, and, it's, again, I mean, you can't tell me that, Zach and David Goyer were not watching this episode when they were doing, because there was just, I was getting some Man of Steel vibes when it came.
And that's the thing. And I love that, because it's like, for all the people that love Man of Steel, like, hey, Superman the animated series, did it first.
Yes. I mean, you can't tell me that they did not. You know, I've said that when it came to Christopher Nolan looking at something. I mean, certain things like when it came to incorporating certain plot points or whatever the hell.
Well, there was Goyer was there too.
Yes, exactly.
I think the through line here is Goyer.
That's the common denominator right there, right? Yes, it's Goyer. I mean, and it's good. It's good. It's great. So then of course we have that, and the police show up, and they start preparing the ship, and then and then it's funny too because, and then we get a cool little thing that happens because obviously like they're trying to find him, and they see obviously Brainiac and whoever, you know, they could see through the building, and they see somebody like take off in like their own little small ship, and they think it's Jor-El, and it's like, okay, yeah, obviously Jor-El's going to distract while she's like doing, maybe sending up, because she's even going, I don't know, if I've never done it by myself. She's hesitant because I've never prepared the ship myself. So then, you know, we're just like, all right, maybe we're just going to trust her. But no, when they actually take down the ship, guess who's in it? Saul Van. Good for him. Coming around. Father-in-law.
Is there a problem, officer?
Yeah. So they do that. And that was pretty cool. I was like, okay, a little switcheroo right there. And and then we get to finally this dramatic ending. And I think this is where we're going to just like,
of course, this is what we're going to show.
Yeah, because it's just, I mean, it's just, this is the origin story. This is where we get baby Cal just sent off, and like even like this, like I even paused it right here where she's got the tear in her eye. He's sleeping. It's a good shot right here. That's a good shot right there. I like that shot. And the music.
I could send you with him.
Yeah, and then I like this too.
Yes,
I like that the fact that he thought about sending her, and then she goes no. I also like that she has the curl too, by the way.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
I like how they put like safety straps over him, because here's another thing. This is a full size rocket ship. Like this isn't like a little pod. Like
reporting in. Jor-El's escaped their perimeter.
Oh, and I love how the music like almost goes completely out.
It doesn't matter anymore.
And then I love this too. This is where like
Krypton.
Brainiac out.
He's out.
What's going on?
Like, fuck you guys. See ya. Here I go. Bye-bye. See y'all later. Not another one.
Oh, I love this line. No.
Yeah.
The last one.
Oh, so good. And this right here where so dramatic.
Very, by the way, a lot of the Krypton, especially the Kryptonians, look very Silver Age inspired in their design.
That score.
So
dramatic.
Yes, Lolita Ramintes was the one who wrote the score for the actual episode.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And then the kiss right here. Aww.
Once again, so affectionate.
Yes.
And then
we see Krypton go crazy right now.
Now that kind of reminds me of 78 with like the plate shifting.
She's falling.
But what I really love coming up, look, it's green.
It's all green. Yeah, I was noticing that too, and I even wrote that in my notes. I was like, it's green everywhere, and it's like, representation of, hey, when we see green later, guess what it affects?
Well, because, you know, once again, every interpretation of Superman has their own reason why Krypton explodes, and this is the core. The core has gone through some major shift. Well, obviously, whatever it was, it's the origin of kryptonite.
Yeah, I love that score right there, and I love the fact that, like, oh my God, is the ship gonna make it? I mean, obviously we know it's gonna make it, but I just love that they kind of gave that tease, anyways.
Oh, and then like the quote afterburners kick in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Krypton.
And there's that shot from the opening sequence. But I think it's also interesting here that kind of like what they do with the Phantom Drive in Man of Steel. It's a hyperspace portal, but if you pay attention, what else goes through the portal with him?
Oh, some kryptonite, baby. Aww,
and I think it's so interesting that, of course, when this originally aired, all three parts aired seamlessly as a movie.
Yes.
But it's so weird that that's where the episode ends. It's like shot a sleeping baby, fade to black, and credits.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, is there more? And I was like, no, yeah, that's right. It just ends like right there. It's cool. I like that. So
Because the first part is entirely just Krypton.
yeah.
Like,
It's a 20, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just, I mean, I guess, like I said, the in Man of Steel, the Krypton scene was essentially like an episode of this animated. I'm sure, I think it's like a little bit longer, but still,
but you
again,
know what? If you go back to Superman 78,
it's pretty long too.
it's pretty long. Like,
Yeah.
I think it serves a Superman origin story well.
Yeah.
That you get a chunk on Krypton. Like, if you're going to do the origin story, you've got to give Krypton its due.
Yeah. And I think that's why, when it comes to the new ones, like James Gunn's like, nope, not origin story. I'm kind of curious if there's going to be anything that he incorporates. I mean, maybe not even in this one, but if there's going to, a sequel or something like how much of Krypton is going to be talked about? I mean, we already know that crypto is going to be a part of this universe, or are they going to do so? I don't know. That's what's going to be interesting when it comes to at least that. But when it comes to this episode, I mean, it's great ending. Like I said, score, everything, just a great episode.
I mean, I'm so excited to talk about the next two parts.
Yeah,
but it's still like, I love how the series, it has the weight, it has the writing that we would come to. Like, look at what they did with Brainiac. Like, we just talked about how he was a douche, but think about the writing to, like, say, this is the personality that we're going to give Brainiac. Like, this is the motivation that we're going to give Brainiac. It's like, no, I'm going to let an entire planet die to save my own ass because me and the information that I store is more important than you people.
It's one of those like changes where, like, people just go, yeah, it's good. I like that. I think like you would just accept it. I think like it just works with this story. I mean, like, I'm sure there's some comic book purists out there that are like, yeah, but I'm like,
I actually, even with the original Brainiac, I kind of like this version better.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense.
It makes sense. And, Smallville ended up incorporating this.
Did they? Okay.
When Brainiac shows up in, played by James Marsters,
nice.
When he shows up in season 5, they take the Brainiacs from Krypton approach.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, this is what's cool about the animated series. I mean, when it came to Batman, I mean, things that they introduced that ended up being canon, and things they changed, like Clayface. And now we have Superman right off the bat. They're like, well, we're going to make Brainiac this. And everybody's like, that works. That's cool. Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. We like it. But yeah, great episode. Do you have anything else to add to it?
No, I mean, hey, we did pretty well for, like, doing a whole, like, intro to the series and talking about the first episode. I'm looking forward to this new era of the Fan-imated stream, because, like I said, Superman the Animated Series is just one of those that, like, I didn't catch. Like, I literally, one of the first episodes that I saw was part 3.
Really?
Didn't see part 1. Like, no, I literally turned on the TV, didn't know when it was coming on, and caught part 3.
Interesting. I'm pretty sure I saw the season premiere because I was excited for it, or the series premiere.
I missed all of this. I actually, there's very distinct episodes I remember, but it was really more of a catch as catch can.
Yeah.
And because I was in high school, like, this show premiered my freshman year of high school, so I was busy.
Yeah.
And
this
so
this is different from Batman because it wasn't appointment viewing, because we were older and, let's face it, teenagers, and you just kind of catch, like you said, but I think I remember specifically hearing about it, and I wanted to watch the series premiere, so I think I did, at least for a few episodes, kept up with it. But I think I fell off with the appointment viewing a few episodes in.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I mean, this doing the Fan-imated stream, I think it's only going to be my second full watch through of Superman the Animated Series. The first time being when the DVDs came out, starting back in 2004. And like I said, that watch through, some of those episodes I think were even like my first time watching them. So
yeah, no, it's gonna be like that for both of us because, like you said, I mean, when it came to Batman, we watched those just like religiously, but this one, not so much. There's going to be episodes that, even like, like before when there would be like, I don't remember this episode when it came to Batman. And then I watch it, like, yes, all of a sudden just start firing off. There's probably going to be times where like, I don't remember this episode. And then when I watch it, I'm like, still don't.
Probably because like you legitimately maybe never even saw it.
There's a possibility of that too. Cause so it's going to be a lot of fun breaking down all this stuff right here. And hey, we got Justin right here with the super chat. What if Jor-El created Brainiac, then had some
sentience? Yeah, I don't think that's not the way I interpret this version. I think that's actually maybe been, I'm not sure if that's ever been played with before. It would be a cool story if it had been, because one thing that the creatives did talk about was they also love the idea of legacy. Think about Man of Steel, where like Zod is Jor-El's enemy. Oh, and this is in the 78 Donner thing too. But basically Zod is Jor-El's enemy, and then Zod becomes Kal's enemy. What they did was they did that with Brainiac. Brainiac was Jor's adversary, and then later on in this series he becomes Kal's adversary. So they just shifted the idea of a legacy villain, and I like it a lot.
I like it. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. What was that?
That was my own personal brain.
Yeah, I was about to say. Jesus Christ, the AI take it over.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you that, man, we're living the nightmare right now.
That was weird timing right there. Talking about Brainiac, and then your watch goes I'm off. Sorry. And then I looked, I was like, was that mine? No. What the fuck? That was funny.
We are in the Matrix.
We are definitely in the Matrix. Holy shit. Yeah, they're all listening to us. Anyways, but yeah, this was a great episode to talk about. Great introduction to this. Well, we're both very much looking forward to talking about more Superman, the animated series. And like I said, we'll have hopefully some new art when it comes to all this and a new intro. I'm still trying to figure all that out, and hopefully we'll get all that done. And next week we'll be talking about part 2 of Last Son of Krypton. Yay. So make sure you guys do that, and go ahead and send us off, Scott.
Well, of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27. You can find my podcast, the DC Squadcast, wherever podcasts can be found. We're on Vero, Facebook, and YouTube with the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com. We're a fan-supported network, so listen, patreon.com/squadcastmedia. We're $5 a month, over 400 pieces of content, and it helps us keep the lights on. We appreciate it.
There you go. All right, guys. Smash that like, thumbs up, subscribe, do all that. And then, of course, I won't see you guys tomorrow because I am seeing The Flash tomorrow evening. Dun, dun, dun. That's right. So not sure exactly the whole parameters of what I could talk about it when it comes to that. But yes, I'll see you guys Tuesday for Film Junkie Live. And we'll see what happens when it comes to what I could talk about when it comes to The Flash tomorrow.
So don't tell me a damn thing.
Oh, I'm not gonna. But I'm just saying, like, obviously, it's not gonna. It's just, can I talk about how I, how much
felt?
I like, felt and all that stuff. Like, how much can I could probably do a social media thing because people have already done that. But I'm wondering, like, videos and whatever. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I'll see you guys Tuesday on Film Junkie Live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, guys, up and away. Talk to you later.